I'm just so impressed by everything you say. Not only is EKU like a family in many respects, but now the whole town.
Yes, this place is special.
Particularly for a young black student.
It's special. So many good things happened here. I met my wife, Shirley White Jackson, here, back at Berea College graduate, and had just been able to touch some people through my association with this university, be able to call some folk, make things happen over the years. I can call anybody on this campus to help someone who wants help, who wants to succeed. Use what influence I have to bring that to bear for folks who want to achieve. And I've been somewhat criticized because what might be a firm stance. Paul, you read some of the stuff, but
let me ask you something else about those days. We probably emphasized too much that you were an athlete. Well. But you were also a very good student, and how did you balance off the demands of your track career with your academic work and your other extracurricular activities? Was that a challenge, or was that something that just kind of came naturally?
Well, at times it was. Of course, it went hand in glove. We had work grants back in those days. We call them scholarships. They were actually work grants. We did stuff like line the football field off, took care of the basketball court at halftime, cleaned the stadium stands. In the classroom, I had help from Dr. Burge and the whole department. I was like a mascot. They took a ton of their wings to help. So as I shared with you, Paul, I have no real horror stories to tell. The timing was great. The attitude was on both sides, both mine and theirs, to succeed here. Dr. Martin, a great visionary, saw this place as a place for everybody. Everyone who wanted to take a stake in it had a chance to do that. My college career was a good one. I wasn't the world's best student. I may have told you the story. I guess I can share it with Dr. Whitlock at this point. After I got back from military, I was back to finish up here at Eastern, and as a history major, I had to have 2 years of foreign language. And I struggled through the first year, and Dr. Quentin King.
German,
that's right, German. And
what else would a historian take at that time?
So anyway, he said, well, Jack, you get kind of long in the tooth. I got to get you out of here. So at that point, him and Dr. Burge waved for me, German too. So let me.
Statute of limitations.
I've been here now, But seriously,
you ran through quite a list of names there a few minutes ago. First group of them had to do with some of the real, anchors of the African American community in Richmond. And the first one you mentioned was Uranus Wofford. Now, a lot of people that may watch this will remember Uranus Wofford Jr.
Yes.
But they probably never knew that his first name was Uranus. All they ever heard him referred to was Junior Wofford.
Junior Wofford.
And there was a group of gentlemen, African American gentlemen, who worked on this campus in that period of time. And men that I feel like my life was enriched by having known.
Right.
And some of these names may ring a bell with you too. Oscar White,
yeah.
And Clarence Stone.
Clarence, yes.
And Hazel Wofford, who worked over in the Weaver Health Building and was a former Golden Gloves champion. and those gentlemen. And then you mentioned Fred Giles. Of course, Dr. Giles was. You and I may have had him for art appreciation
200.
together. I'm not sure.
200. We all had 200.
But my favorite Fred Giles story is, which shows long range planning. Dr. Giles was on the faculty here for 30 some odd years.
Yes.
And at that particular time, there was a mandatory retirement age of 70, and mandatory retirement ages of 70 went to the wayside back sometime in the 80s, but
they were common.
But they were common. They were common at that time. And Dr. Giles retired And then about 2 years later, he passed away. And his obituary in the paper said something like Dr. Frederick T. Giles, 78. And Dr. Martin says that can't be right. But he checked, and as it turned out, Dr. Giles, looking ahead and thinking, you know, I might not want to quit when I'm 70, when he was a young man, lied about his age.
Back then, his age.
I don't say lied about his age, misrepresented his age at that time, and sure enough, you know, worked beyond 70.
Huh?
And then the Forderhazes and Mutersbaugh and those folks, they were great teachers of history.
Just naming the history faculty gives you an appreciation for Bob Martin in particular,
Yes.
because he had a vision of academic quality that most of us didn't see at that time,
Didn't see it.
but in later years we did. But you said he also had a vision about about integration of the races, and you experienced some of this firsthand. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Well, as a young man, I sensed something about this big guy, this big jolly-looking man who was bigger than life. We
Yes,
all
he
admit
was.
that. I mean, Peabody Fellow, campaign manager to 2 governors, Combs and Breathitt, I believe.
Statewide elected official.
Peabody, great man, great person, and in talking with him a couple, 3 or 4 times, I sensed that he was ahead of his time in his thinking. And he said, now, some folk call coming here an experiment, as you've probably seen in the past, Dr. Whitlock. But I just like the athletic complex with the baseball field and the track and the Coliseum and that whole piece. He, I think, saw and envisioned all types of people in this setting. Even though in 1960, I'm quite sure he swam against the current in that line of thought. But I sensed a person who, in spite of how he may have looked at people, he was really a gentle giant. He was tough, and he had to be. He was a leader. But I saw in Dr. Martin a chance, and I backed that up by saying that he had jobs lined up for us, Doug, with Hargett, and we got jobs. That's something in Dayton at General Motors. We all 4 of us did, and that didn't come to pass. But he had already had that in the works, that we'd be here for the summer to earn money to go with our work grants.
So
That said to me,
very practical in terms
a
of
practical man who was interested, not just talking, but meaning what he was
In the
saying.
interest of full disclosure, I feel compelled to point out that what Jack is describing, while it would be an NCAA violation today, was not at that time.
Okay, be clear on that. But yes, I recall those that Dr. Martin certainly was, and the more this school grows and only becomes, the more he's vindicated, if there need be. He projected, he saw things, and it's coming to pass. And I guess one of my saddest reflections, both of you, is when I saw him at the nursing home in his latter years, and he was a shell of the man that we once knew, and how I saw him at a couple homecoming functions later on with his buddies, his peer group, 4 or 5 older people that he'd gone to school with at Vanderbilt and other places. They'd be together, and I just, from time to time, would steal a glance at this group and to look at their faces and to ponder what are they thinking as they see the progress around them that he had started right there in his lifetime. But he was truly a man of vision. I'll always appreciate Bob Martin.